All right. Thank you, Mariam and Mohammed, for joining. So, as you know, this is the panel on repeat applicants and how they go about the match process for subsequent years. So, what we want to discuss today is with your experiences, both your experiences. What are some of the typical reasons you've seen or experienced for not matching in previous years? And then how does an applicant prepare for next year, improving their applications? How do they get more interviews next year? And how do they improve their interview performance in the next year? It's a long journey. You get a lot of experience, obviously, but it's also about keeping up your motivation. So we also want to talk about how have you guys kept up your motivation in this extensive, uncertain, and long journey? So what I wanted to do first was go through a round of introductions. Why don't you tell about yourself, both of you, before we start? So Mariam, do you want to go first?
Absolutely. Hi everyone, this is Mariam Bakar. I'm a foreign medical graduate and I have applied for internal medicine residency this year. This is my second time around. As Pavan has mentioned, this is especially a session for repeat applicants. I'm here to help you in any way I can.
Thank you, Mariam. Mohammed, do you want to introduce yourself?
So I'm Mohammed Hamdan Gul. I'm an international medical graduate as well. I'm kind of glad that I'm talking here today because I feel that match process itself has so many intricacies in it. When you try to apply for it for the first time, you don't know much of the information. And I would say you don't get much of the information as well from the internet as well. I just want to talk about what experiences I learned from my first time around and then use it to my benefit for the second time. And hopefully that works out.
All right, excellent. All right, so without further ado, let's hear from you, both of you. What are the typical reasons for not matching, say, the first time around? And, let's not discuss scores, visas, and some of other aspects that are unlikely to change. But obviously, if you have a weakness in scores or visas, then how do you go about building on your weakness to make it some kind of a strength? How do you do some other things? So Mariam, what would be a typical reason or reasons why an IMG would not match in the first year? Or, first
Right.
couple of
So, yeah, reasons are many. One thing that particularly happened with me was that I think the list of programs that I opted for during my first attempt was not appropriate. I think I did not choose the kind of programs who would be interested in me. I went for programs I was interested in and absolutely did not apply to programs. And I was pretty brutal with my list. So I chucked out many cities, I chucked out many towns, I chucked out XYZ programs. And just focusing on that, I think, has significantly boosted my number of interviews in the second attempt, because I could see that half of my interviews this year are from places that I didn't even apply to last year. Mind you, even this year, I didn't apply to a lot of programs. I applied to about 140, which is still a reasonable number. I know people who've applied to 200 plus programs. And out of 140 programs, I got 17 calls, and I know people who've applied. So yeah, I mean, I'm just saying that I think for me, one main thing that worked was not being picky with locations and programs and this and that, and just applying broadly and giving each place a chance. Because I think either way, like foreign medical graduate or local graduate, I think you should give each place a chance and not have those limitations preemptively in your mind.
And was there any other factor? Did last year did you apply on time, like the September 15 deadline, or were you late, or was there any other
I did
reason, or was
everything.
it just
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
location?
Yes. I had. Yeah, I think the other thing that I applied on time last year, I applied with certification. I had everything ready, nothing was delayed at all. One thing that I particularly worked on this year, even more than I did last year, was chasing programs and emailing not just the coordinators but also contacting the directors directly. I was
Okay.
up until quite a few months ago, I was under the impression that directors should not be disturbed until December because they're busy and it
Yes.
may work against me. But
Uh-huh.
because I was desperate this year, I thought I don't have much to lose. I actually started contacting directors as soon as I went unmatched. Firstly, looking for observerships if possible, because that gave
Okay.
me a chance to initiate a conversation with directors. And then secondly, even before applying, I applied in September. I started contacting them first week of September or late July, just reinforcing my interest and making sure that my email does not sound very generic either. So the directors I wrote to, I made sure that I read the entire website before writing to them. I made sure that whatever I was talking about, whatever I was interested is in line with their interests as well. So there's a reason for them to, because I think this is a time when emails are not coming to them so frequently. They are more likely to read them and pay attention to them. So I started my
I see.
chasing and my
Mm-hmm.
contacting. That thing I started much earlier than I did last year. Last year I didn't email anybody until I don't know October and November, and this year calls started coming in September, which means maybe you should be even more proactive next year.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it
No, this
worked.
year was slightly
I've
surprising
had
because,
I,
you
I
know,
have
some of us got a call in 2 days. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Mariam,
and
go
these
ahead.
emails worked. I mean, yeah, I mean, you may think that they don't read these emails, and most often they don't. But at least in the beginning, I could see that out of I don't know if I sent 20 emails, I could see that at least four of them paid some heed, and then I got like a couple of calls out of them. So I think it's a good rate, and it's worth the effort.
Okay, very good. Yeah, yeah. So I want to bring in Mohammed. Mohammed, what do you think are typical reasons for not matching? I mean, take out the scores and visa and things like that. Like Mariam identified a couple of reasons, location or where you apply is a big thing. What else? What else do you think are reasons, for not matching, maybe not getting enough interviews the first time around?
Okay, so um, I'll talk about some of the reasons that I felt during my journey is important. So first of all, you need to know like where you stand in a match group according to your profile. Okay, so you have
Mm-hmm.
certain kind of scores, and then you have certain kind of profile, maybe some clinical experience and research. So when you get an interview from a program, you need to know, like this is the kind of information that you need to know, that if you, let's say, perform well on the interview, would you still get matched? So what happens is this, that unfortunately, like many programs are calling so many candidates, and they're
Mm-hmm.
like maybe some 20-1 ratio. So typically, even if you do well on your interview, um, and let's say you don't have anyone vouching for you in the program, so at the end, what happens is that when they're trying to make the rank order list, so it is your profile as well. It is also if someone is vouching for you so that they know you personally, and,
Mm-hmm.
and and that thing, and that I think matters more, because I feel last year the kind of interviews that I got, uh, I literally did not, like, for at least many of them, I did not fit in. Because why? If I would look at the residents, for one of the programs, most were IMG. Okay, so it's less likely that I would be that one IMG that would get into that program. Another program was taking people who had like flawless application and like profile stronger than me probably. Okay, because of that, even if I interviewed well. Okay, and other programs had like literally all Indians in there. So I'm not like biased against it, but happens to be that a program is Indian predominant, it's hard for other, or let's say Pakistani predominant, it's hard for other people to get in because people tend to vouch for their own people. So
right.
You need to know, think about it beforehand that, okay, I'm going to this program. Am I going to be the only Pakistani who they are going to, it's possible, but you have to understand your chances. And then, yes, I would say that probably I did not know, but there's a lot of tricks that that you need to know for the interview as well. It matters somewhat because, when you go to the interview, it's not so much about your interviewing skills, I would say, because typically people who go to the interview, they have good communication. I don't know, but I feel like they're good in speaking English because they've been in the U.S. for a while. But they don't have a problem with that part. The problem comes with the fact that when someone's asking you a question, they have a particular motive behind it. Okay, and then
right.
we go on, and everyone, when you go to the interview, would say, be honest and be yourself. Okay, the interview is not about this. You can't be yourself. You have to be someone who they want you to be, because that's why they're asking you the question. Okay, you
yes.
can be yourself, but then if they don't like you, so you don't fit in there.
Right, right.
So this was my first thing. Literally last year, everyone was telling me, be yourself, which is fine as well. You don't want to be, you should not be very fake as well. But you need to understand the psychology of an interviewer, and if he has a particular mindset or an agenda in his mind, which you can determine during the interview, or you should actually try to get information from other people as well. That and typically the residents, or they're the good people to ask, what kind of agenda do they want, what kind of candidates are they looking for. So if you can inculcate that information into your interview, and then again, it's luck as well, I would say. So you cannot eliminate the component of luck in the match as well. But more so the multiple factors combined together, including what I said, the places you interview from. So you might be happy that, okay, I've got 8 or 10 interviews, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But it happens to be, like I said, that most of the programs take you for backup. If you get an interview, there is a chance that they're keeping you as a backup, okay? So you need to know where you stand, okay?
Right.
And that's why you never need to be content with the amount of interviews that you get, okay? So if you, last year, I would say I did this mistake. I was looking at the NRMP data, and I was saying that, okay, it says that if you have 8 interviews, then you have 80% of matching. I don't think it's true. I feel there is no safe number. The more, the better, okay? And the quality and the kind of programs that you get interviewed from, that is more important. Because some programs are likely to take you more based on what you are, from your ethnicity, based on your profile, rather than other programs, regardless of your interview performance. That's one thing. That's
right.
The main reason I feel like people don't end up matching, because they never get the right kind of interviews that they actually needed in the first place. And then they have content as well with the interviews that they get. Okay. Another thing I noticed from last year, one thing it's very fair to say about the system, but many people that matched last year, I saw that they actually knew someone in the program. Okay, so if you have typically not the outstanding application, which is outstanding scores,
So the directors I wrote to, I made sure that I read the entire website before writing to them. I made sure that whatever I was talking about, whatever I was interested is in line with their interests as well. So there's a reason for them to, because I think this is a time when emails are not coming to them so frequently. They are more likely to read them and pay attention to them. So I started
I
my
see.
chasing and my contacting. That thing I started much earlier than I did last year. Last year I didn't email anybody until, I don't know, October and November. And this year calls started coming in September, which means maybe you should be even more proactive next year.
Yeah, yeah.
And
No,
it
this
worked.
year was slightly surprising because,
I've had it.
some
I've,
of us got
I
a call in 2 days. Yeah.
have.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Mariam, go
and
ahead.
these emails worked. I mean, you may think that they don't read these emails, and most often they don't. But at least in the beginning, I could see that out of, I don't know, if I sent 20 emails, I could see that at least 4 of them paid some heed, and then I got like a couple of calls out of them. So I think it's a good rate, and it's worth the effort.
Okay, very good. Yeah, yeah. So I want to bring in Mohammed. Mohammed, what do you think are typical reasons for not matching? I mean, take out the scores and visa and things like that. Like Mariam identified a couple of reasons, location or where you apply is a big thing. What else? What else do you think are reasons, for not matching, maybe not getting enough interviews the first time around?
Okay, so I'll talk about some of the reasons that I felt during my journey is important. So first of all, you need to know like where you stand in a match pool according to your profile. Okay, so you have certain kind of scores, and then you have certain kind of profile, maybe some clinical experience and research. So when you get an interview from a program, you need to know, like this is the kind of information that you need to know, that if you, let's say, perform well on the interview, would you still get matched? So what happens is this, that unfortunately, like many programs are calling so many candidates, and they are like maybe some 20-1 ratio. So typically, even if you do well on your interview, and let's say you don't have anyone vouching for you in the program, so at the end what happens is that when they're trying to make the rank order list, so it is your profile as well. It is also if someone is vouching for you so that they know you personally, and that thing, and that I think matters more, because I feel last year the kind of interviews that I got, I literally did not, like for at least many of them I did not fit in. Because why? If I would look at the residents, for one of the programs, most were IMG. Okay, so it's less likely that I would be that one IMG that would get into that program. Another program was taking people who had like flawless application and like profile stronger than me probably. Okay, so that one would not choose me because of that, even if I interviewed well. Okay, another program had like literally all Indians in there. So I'm not like biased against it, but happens to be that a program is Indian predominant, it's hard for other, or let's say Pakistani predominant, it's hard for other people to get in because people tend to vouch for their own people. So
right.
You need to think about it beforehand that, okay, I'm going to this program. Am I going to be the only Pakistani who they were going to, it's possible, but you have to understand your chances. And then, yes, I would say that probably I did not know, but that a lot of tricks that people know for the interview as well. It matters somewhat because, when you go to the interview, it's not so much about your interviewing skills, I would say, because typically people who go to the interview, they have good communication. I don't know, but like I feel like they're good in speaking English because they've been in the U.S. for a while. So they don't have a problem with that part. The problem comes with the fact that when someone asking you a question, they have a particular motive behind it. Okay, and then
Right.
we go on, and everyone, like, when you go to the interview would say, be honest and be yourself. Okay, interview is not about this. You can be yourself. You have to be someone who they want you to be, because that's why they're asking you the question. Okay, you
Yes.
can be yourself, but then if they don't like you, so you don't fit in there.
Right. Right.
So this was my first thing. I literally last year everyone was telling me, be yourself, which is fine as well. You don't want to be, you should not be very fake as well. But you need to understand the psychology of an interviewer, and if he has a particular mindset or an agenda in his mind, which you can determine during the interview, or you should actually try to get information from other people as well. That and typically the residents, or they're the good people to ask, like, what kind of agenda do they want, or what kind of candidates that they're looking for. So if you can inculcate that information into your interview. And then again, it's luck as well, I would say. So you cannot eliminate the component of luck in the match as well. But more so these multiple factors combined together, including what I said, the places you interview from. So you might be happy that, okay, I've got like 8 or 10 interviews, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But it happens to be, like I said, that most of the programs like take you for backup. If you get an interview, there is a chance that they're keeping you as a backup, okay? So you need to know where you stand, okay?
Right.
And that's why you never need to be content with the amount of interviews that you get, okay? So if you, last year, I would say I did this mistake. I was looking at the NRMP data, and I was saying that, okay, it says that if you have 8 interviews and you have 80% of matching. I don't think it's true. I feel there is no safe number. The more, the better, okay? And the quality and the kind of programs that you get interviewed from, that is more important. Because some programs are likely to take you more based on what you are, from your ethnicity, based on your profile, rather than other programs, regardless of your interview performance. That's one thing. That's
right.
The main reason I feel like people don't end up matching, because they never get the right kind of interviews that they actually needed in the first place. And then their content as well with the interviews that they get. Okay. Another thing I noticed from last year, I won't think like it's very fair to say about the system, but many people that matched last year, I saw that they actually knew someone in the program. Okay, so if you have typically not the outstanding application, which is like outstanding scores, so probably many people know someone in the program, and programs like to be safe because they don't want to hire someone who they just see on interview for 5 to 10 minutes, and so they would like, not every program, but some of the programs do like someone, if someone can talk on your behalf and say that, okay, he's a good candidate. Another good thing that you can do in this perspective, because of course no one has a built-in contact from the very beginning, you can do observerships. And that's a good way too, but it's again like a double-edged sword, because you're spending that. You don't want to like just make a good impression on your senior residents and think like they're going to do anything for you. What happens is that people, so you should just focus on the target. So if you are doing an observership, just make the impression straight on the program director, because he's the one who's going to decide. Because if you keep on relying on other people doing observership on your attending or someone, happens to be that these people sometimes are hesitant vouching for some whatever reason, even if they feel that's what deserving. So just hit the, what do you call it, the thing in the eye and make an impression straight on the program director, if you have a chance. And the way you can do it is like, let's say you have morning reports. So you don't want to be extra pushy as well. So if you have a morning report and and only answer once, so like try to be the one who is like if no one is answering, then to answer. You are not taking anyone's turn to answer until you are proving that you're potentially a good resident.
Okay.
So these are something that.
Yeah, I just want to come to, because I think you've transitioned to the next part that I was anyway going to do. So just to summarize, apply broadly, get a champion in the program if you can, get to know the program, what they are looking for, are some of the things that have come out on, why typically people don't match in the first, second attempt, but if they do these things, you could get more interviews. Now, as Mohammed was saying, how do you improve your application? Now, application, of course, sorry, Mariam. I was going to give it to you. So, take it from here.
I'd like. Yes.
Okay.
No problem. No. I just wanted to build on what Mohammed mentioned about knowing your place is very important. Assess your entire profile and know where you stand, and understand what kind of programs will be interested in you. Because this process is so complicated that you can only afford to divert your energy towards programs where you have good chances. I mean, of course, try everywhere, but specifically if you know that there would be programs interested in you, your energy should be diverted predominantly over there. That's what I feel. The other thing that I have noticed is that a lot of times people say that once you come to the interview, everybody's on the same platform, regardless of that interview coming to you on your own or through a contact. From my experience, I feel like that's not so true, because it could be true in some cases, of course, I'm not generalizing, but at least in my cases, I noticed that I got the calls and my interviews went well, but I probably got the calls through somebody. It was a courtesy call basically, and it was a courtesy call, and they probably couldn't say no to that person, so they called me. And I had a good interview. I got good vibes, nothing wrong with that. But then later, when I looked at the class of that program, I realized that they had literally one IMG among like 25 other interns who were all American graduates. So they were not interested in me. My chances there were very low. But because I liked that program and I got a call, I became overconfident that okay, so all I'm trying to say is that don't take courtesy, don't get inflated because of a courtesy call that you may get, especially value calls which come on their own as well. And I think that's where pushing for those calls and really knowing what the programs want and pushing your own self and making them review your application and see if they like it is probably, I mean, let's see what happens in my match, but it's probably better than to rely on contacts getting you calls from big programs, unless they come on their own. I feel like contacts, I mean, people can disagree, but at least in my case, I felt that contacts just gave me an inflated ego. Those calls just gave me an inflated ego, and later when I saw the class they hired, I could see that they actually were not interested in more or less any foreign medical graduate. They only had one among 25 others who were all Americans. So so I guess because the problem is that you get calls from these programs and then you get laid back and you stop chasing programs where you may have a chance, because you get laid back, you become overconfident that I have a call from here, I have a call from there, and you actually have a much better chance going to other programs that you're ignoring right now. So just because somebody else has called you, and in reality they don't want to hire you, they only called you because of courtesy. So just beware. I mean, sure, go for courtesy calls and give your best there too, but just beware that you may have better chances elsewhere, and you have to do equally good and work equally hard to impress them and
but now let's talk specifically on application, the more USE, observership, personal statement. CV. Does that matter? Did you change it around next time, Mariam?
Hmm. 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 Yes. Uh, yeah, so yes, I tried my best. Although, like when I went unmatched, I remember somebody told me, and it kind of made sense that if you go unmatched with less than 6 calls, then you should work on your profile.
Mm-hmm.
If you go unmatched with more than 6 calls, then you should work on your interview skills. It could, again, I'm not going to generalize this, but it is fairly true. But because I wanted to be, I wanted to give my best shot in the second attempt. I tried to work on both my profile and my interview skills. For the profile, as Mohammed mentioned, for example, as soon as you go unmatched, it's a huge blow. I was devastated. And I am not saying that you should start looking for observerships the next day. Some people go into clinical
Okay.
depression. It takes you 3 months to even come back. But as long as you know that this is what you want to do, and that you don't want to do anything else in life, and you are ready to give this a second attempt, be prepared for going unmatched, God forbid, and have your plan B ready. Plan Bs are again to boost your profile in any way possible, anything that is feasible for you. Look for observerships if you can afford to go, if you can go to the US again, go do observerships. Do find a research position if you can, if it's a if you can afford to do it. Find a research position if you can. I couldn't go to the US for more than a month, even though I wanted to go there for so many months. I had some issues. So I chose to do volunteer work with some refugees at an NGO in the city I was based in. And I talked about that. So you can focus on step 3 as well. If you haven't taken step 3, get that out of the way. Work on exactly, yeah. So US experience, see if you can get a research. If you have enough US experience already, look for a research position and a prolonged period, like let's say 6-7
Okay.
months, so that by the time you interview, you have enough material to talk about and have a stance on what kind of projects you're doing, etc., etc. I took step 3, I got that out of the way. There was also a time lag in between where I couldn't do anything because of certain reasons. So I chose to do some online courses. Sitting at home, I went on Coursera and I chose some relevant healthcare online courses. They were actually relevant to the healthcare system of the United States. And they were all free of cost, and I did them diligently at home. I mentioned them
Hmm.
in my CV. It was just a volunteer thing, but I mentioned them in my CV, and I talked about it because through those courses I was, I was more well versed with the healthcare system of the United States, and I was able to talk about the happenings and the transformations and this and that. The point is, anything that you can think of. If you can go to the US, go ahead, do it. If you can't go to the US, start preparing for step 3, see if you can go take step 3 there. Research, I mean, it depends on your finances, on your emotional stability, on any personal reasons, whatever. But keep yourself busy, and just in case, if, because I got 3 of my calls were from my repeat were from programs that called me last year as well, and at least 2 of them significantly remembered me. So obviously over there, my main focus over there was to explain what is it that I did after going unmatched, to be able to tell
Wow,
them how
wow. Yeah, no,
optimistic
no,
and
no.
determined
I
I
remember,
am
and in fact, some of the
for
things
this
we've
career.
discussed, including your
So
personal
that
statement,
should
came
be,
out
I
very well.
mean,
So yes,
it's very
I can
hard.
imagine what you
I
went
broke
through.
down
So
God knows
let me
innumerable
turn it to
times,
Mohammed. Mohammed,
but you
how
have
do
to
you
keep
go
going
about
if you
improving
know
your
that this is what you
application
have to do,
second
and
time
there's
around? I know
absolutely
you spoke
nothing
about
else in the world
observership.
that you'd like to do instead.
I think you took step 3 as well, so that would have helped. What else? What else, Mohammed? Step 3,
Okay.
observerships.
But
Anything else?
I kind of agree with what Dr. Mariam Bakr said. What you need to understand
Yeah,
is that
yeah.
typically you need to show them something, and programs kind of know that you have matched, you have applied for previous year because they kind of look at your, I don't know from repeat applicants, but they look at your scores and then your exams and they know that you have cleared it in the past year and probably, yes, you would have applied. So what they want to see is that what have you been doing all this time, and how, if you did not unmatch, like how did you react to it?
Yeah.
So the way to do it is simple. Like you have to be very proactive. You have to work on all the aspects that you can. So typically, I think I would say in the most important thing you should do, if you have not done your step 3, try to get a high score in step 3. Because many
Mohammed, can you be a bit louder? Mohammed, can you be a bit louder? I think
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. How is my voice now? Better?
Yeah, much better. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. You need to tell me. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So I think like the most important thing, if I think objectively, I haven't gone through this much. I cannot know, but what I feel is probably step 3. If you have not taken it, it's probably for good, because now you have a chance to score high on this exam, to prove once more that you were what you thought you were. But it's okay as well. Like if you could not, it's not the only thing. But if you can, then that's good. And program directors like the fact that you did step 3 because many program directors, even they told me on the interviews that we like people who have done step 3 because it's kind of a hurdle in their first year, and they tend to not work well because they wanted to prepare for step 3, and it becomes quite a hassle for us. So they typically rank people who have done step 3 higher than those who haven't. It is not true for every program, okay, but some of them do, and those are the programs that are probably more matchable. So this thing I worked on, I studied hard as I did for the previous exams as well. And then at the same time, you do not want to look like any gaps in your CV. Okay, if you have gaps in CV after not getting matched, that's a disaster. So you need to keep on doing something along with that as well. So that includes 2 things. Or it could include something like Dr. Mariam Bakir did, that she works with refugees, volunteer work, or you could do some courses on Coursera, which I think is a very good idea. As long as you can talk about anything on the interview and you can inspire them with the effort that you took, okay, it works. So in my case, I kind of took the traditional approach, which is like expanding on my U.S. clinical experience and research. So I want to tell you a little bit about that. So U.S. clinical experience, I think, is better if you are able to do it from different places. It helps you in 2 ways. One, I think it's also good for you because you see like different places, and then you kind of understand the dynamics of different programs. That how do they? Once you get observership in the program, then you can talk to people. How do they select? And then you get more information about the program as well. And you typically have a shot at that program as well. Not always, okay, but there is a shot. And if there's not something really that would hit you back during your observership, typically you can get an interview from that place as well. And then if you can, then you may end up matching as well. But it's typically very hard to get observerships as well. So the way I did it, what I did is like I went to Doximity and saw like my alumni of my college since ever, and I kind of like randomly messaged them, okay, telling them about my plight, about my situation at this time, and typically do not expect replies or anything, but out of 100 you may get like 5 to 6 replies, and then 2 or 3 out of them may actually help you. So that's the way to go. You can do. I went along that route, and I would say I met some very kind people like that as well. Because it happens to be that those people who do want to help, they're kind of like reserved at times, and they don't want to show up themselves as well. And those that are very much active, they kind of don't help anyone, and they're like very much active as well. Okay, because Yeah, so don't
Okay.
believe in the fact that someone is on Facebook and he would be like very helping as well. So that typically does not. No, it was my thing that I felt. Okay,
All
so this
right.
clinical
Yeah,
experience,
everyone
I was
has
able to get
experience.
like diverse clinical experience from different places. So when I went to the interviews, I told them that I did it in this place, this place, this place, and they were actually inspired by uh, the amount of travel that I did. Like, it's not typically easy for moving from state to state every month and
Right.
getting yourself a location to stay and then also managing the finances at the same time. And then I managed to get like good letters from them as well. And so it's like a win-win situation if you're able to do that. But I understand it's very hard. It's very hard. So if you're not able to do that, anything that would fill your gap is okay. Okay. So, but I think, yes, diverse U.S. clinical experience helps because you can talk about it then. Otherwise, if you do it in the same place for a year, let's say I say that I did an internship for a year in the same place. What happens is that like they kind of, you cannot talk about it. Like how much experience would you, it's kind of becoming redundant after a month, what you are grasping from that place. So, and I guess people understand that as well when you talk about it as well. So in my interview trail this year, I would say that I have been appreciated for getting it from various places, and many complimented on that. Secondly, I feel that regarding research is I had research last year as well, but the thing was that I did not have like publications. Okay, so you can talk about your research, okay, but the thing is that they believe in numbers, I would say. So it's better to have actually something on your as an abstract or as a publication rather than just talking about that research experience, which may work as well for some people. Okay, but it's always better to have something solid in there because if you have that and then you talk about it, people end up buying it. Well, compared to if you don't have anything on your profile and you talk about your research. And you may have done a lot of research actually, but you don't have it. And then even they might say yes and that, but I don't think that it really matters then later on in the ranks they actually want something, which is again hard, but the way you have to do it is like, again, email, try to see people from your own country and try to get in touch with people who have done a lot of publications, because by getting in contact with them or working with them, you can end up getting publications as well, which I think like helps you tremendously in the next year match.
Okay.
And then finally, you have to build in contacts as well. So building in contacts, no one was born with contacts. I was born in Pakistan. I was not born with contacts in America. So you tend to build contacts over time. And the way to do it is, again, it might seem weird in the process that you're like messaging everyone, and people typically will not look very good on you. But it is okay. You are asking for something which you really worked hard for, and you deserved it. And so what if like no one responds to you, or they think like you are like they think bad about you? It does not matter. Okay, in the process, it might like out of 100 people, 1 or 2 may actually help you in the process, and I think that's worth it, worth the effort in the end. I think contacts literally really don't help you in getting the interview, because typically when you get the interview, you can get the interview from that place, but I think you should not use them to get interviews so much if you do not belong to that place. Like Mariam said, if the program
and
is
that's what
and
Mariam
you get an interview, it will not help you. What it helps you is that when you do your interview and they're trying to make the rank order, they make you happy. They make you overconfident, and that was, I think, the biggest mistake that I had as well last year. People made me overconfident. You should not believe anyone in the match process. I had people from my own college giving me and they were in very high positions as well. Like they were literally in the position that they could select.
It makes you feel
and they told
happy.
me we'll select you, okay? And then that didn't happen, okay? So whatever the thing is, that you should always keep your options more. If I look back at last year, had I been a
Yeah.
little cautious about what people tell me and like took it with a pinch of salt. Okay, every sweet word with a pinch of salt, I would have been much
Yeah, I
better off in
agree.
the
Do
process
not
as well.
trust
All right. So this
anybody in
year,
this
I
okay.
know, like,
process.
if
Oh
someone
my
is telling me something,
goodness. Yes.
even if someone comes to me on the interview and after the program director tells me after the interview, oh, you are outstanding and you are this and that, I know that it's just like, a typical conversation that we say outstanding and excellent doesn't really mean
Yeah.
until you actually rank me. So
Yeah.
you need to take everything with a pinch of salt over here because I don't know, people kind of find pleasure in telling people that whatever.
All right. So now let's move on to the important, last 5 to 7 minutes. Improving your interview performance second time around. So, you've done everything. You probably second time around, you got valid calls, not through contacts. You did everything, Now comes the interview. So, how has this changed between the last year versus this year, given that you both went through the process? You interviewed some places last year also. So, how have you tried to improve your performance this year? Just the interview performance. So, Mariam, yeah, yes, we can hear
Right. Right. So as I said, when I went unmatched, right. When I said, can you hear me? Hello? Yeah, okay. So when I went unmatched, I went unmatched with 9 interviews. Well, actually 7 on my rank order list because I had 2 pre-matches. Anyways, but overall it was a fair number. So I definitely thought that apart from working on my profile, which I would do anyway because I had a whole year to talk about, I also thought that it would be a good idea to get some sort of validation from a third party about my interview skills because the year before that, I pretty much prepared them on my own and
you.
actually did not get my answers validated by people who I could trust. And this is where this, along with one other point, which is actually really funny, but in these 2 particular areas, I would definitely say that Sarthi helped me overall very much because so it started from right it
Okay.
started right from the beginning, starting from going through my ERAS application to make sure that my wordings are correct, that I'm bringing out the information in the right manner. I don't know who read it, who didn't read it, but I know that more attention to my ERAS CV application was given this time around than it was given last year because I got it validated by somebody who had relative experience. And then in terms of the other thing that I think Sarti really helped me with was I'll talk about the interview performance after this, but one thing was that um, uh, through this group, I think I got to know a lot of other nationalities than my own, other than my own country. And that really opened a whole new world of how other foreign graduates treat this process, what kind of answers they give, what approach do they have, because we are all in it together. And sometimes we tend to seclude ourselves, not just within our countries, but also within our medical school circles. So we're not really aware of what kind of other candidates are going to the same programs that we've applied to. So joining a group like that helped me in really understanding how other people approach this. And I think the group that we have, in which we continuously talk all the time, that really helped me in tracking programs because as soon as somebody would get an interview, this is right at the beginning of the season, let's say September, early October, people used to get very excited and they used to, inform and announce that they've got an interview from someplace. And that sort of that really helped me in tracking which programs have started viewing their applications. Because, like I said, you have finite energy and you really have to make sure where you divert it. So, if I know that right from September, XYZ program has started giving out invitations, I wouldn't have known this otherwise if I was not on this group. Through them, through their announcements, I
Right.
knew that, okay, so this program has opened their documents right from now. So this is the time for me to email them. And I think this sort of proactivity, silent proactivity, just figuring out who's getting calls from where, and knowing that because a lot of programs start viewing in November, some start viewing in October, but there were some who started viewing them even in September. So proactivity through, and then I would hit the nail right there and email them, knowing that they've started viewing them. So that helped. And then interview performance, of course, getting your answers validated. I think what Pawan, you made me write my answers. You made me understand my own self like I have never understood before by asking questions that I had never asked myself before. So just the exercise of writing questions down, getting them validated, the mock interviews helped, and then and then we had those exercises where we got together with random participants and just practice with
Okay.
people on Sarthi, people who are not on Sarthi, in front of the mirror, left, right. I definitely feel that even though, I mean, I think I did fairly well even last year. I don't know, but of course, for example, the behavioral questions, I hadn't prepared them so well last year. This time around, yeah, so behavioral questions got, I mean, I got so many interviews and I realized that so many of them asked me behavioral questions this year. And so yeah, I think it's very important that you go through the typical questions asked, the non-typical questions asked, and have those answers prepared in your
Right.
mind. You don't have to sound rehearsed, but you have to have, for example, at least I would recommend have, like, for behavioral questions or for questions about your patient experiences or colleague
Yeah. Yeah.
experiences, have like 5, 6 cases ready in your head, because sometimes one case can qualify for more than one question. So have five,
Oh,
six
thank you.
cases ready in your head,
Yeah, well,
because
you'll
they
do
can just
fine. You'll
throw
do
in
well, both of
scenarios in
you.
front of you
So,
and ask you
Mohammed,
to
coming to
comment
you,
on it
how
based on
did
your own
you,
personal
or what are
experiences,
your
and you cannot do this
recommendations for
spontaneously.
improving the
So you
interview
need,
performance? I mean, have you seen a difference
this,
between
yeah. So
last
so
year
this
that you
is, yeah.
prepared this
Overall,
year, and
this is
what
how
would
I
you
try to
recommend? What specific
perform better
changes
this
did you
year.
do to your own
Don't
style?
know how
Maybe
well it worked,
communication,
but
maybe
this
responses.
is what
I
I
don't know. So,
did. This is what
what
I
have
did.
you seen, if anything, different?
Um, okay, so first I want to mention that whatever Dr. Mariam is talking about, I kind of feel that the story kind of resounds with me as well, because I was kind of reserved first year as well, and I was not part of any community. And first of all, I want to thank your community, USMLE Sarthi, and I feel that it was kind of enlightening for me because it helped me to get out of the box that I
Okay,
had,
thank you.
a bubble that I had, and let know, and it helped me to know about what other people are thinking and how do they approach the interview process as well. So like I said, that first securing interviews was helpful because people would talk. I got interviews from that place, and that was the time to actually email the program, and then they would review your application. And so you have to make the best use of your time. And your community really helped me on that process. You actually helped me with the interviewing interviewing scripts as well, which was very helpful. But what I would say that interviewing really helped me was that I would literally go with an agenda for a program. So you need to understand like what kind of program I'm interviewing it and what do they want from the program.
Mm-hmm.
If let's say it's a community program somewhere in Florida, then they are typically looking for people who are, let's say they want to be a hospitalist, they want to stay around in that place, and stay around in their own locality and be a part of primary care. So, you have to be a kind of actor when you go to, once you get introduced in those places, and then you don't want to be yourself, you want to be what they want you to be, which is fair because, at the end of the day, when you get your stuff done, you can end up doing whatever you want. Nobody cares about it. But once they ask you questions, let's say, what are your interests in the future? So you want to say what they actually want you to, which is unfair, but it is how it is.
Yeah.
So I modulated my responses according to what the kind of approach that the program wants. and the information I got, like information gathering, extraction was from communities like yourself in Misarti, from the residents. If I had anyone, I would literally message anyone randomly. Can I get any tips for interviews? And that really helps. They kind of tell you what the program is really looking for. Some program like research, some doesn't really like research. They are like, okay, why you? They really don't like it, and some like more clinical experience. So whatever the program likes, you try to say accordingly in the interview. And then the other things, let's say that what kind of questions, there's always like, what do you have for me? What kind of questions do you want to ask? You also want to review that you should ask kind of questions which are intelligent for them because they are kind of judging you on the basis of what kind of questions are you asking. So that part, and also you want to sell your CV very well because typically what happens, you should assume that the person has not read my CV. And it is just very true. These are very busy people, and they have been brought by the program coordinator to interview you, and they have hardly reviewed your CV. Maybe just the scores, but maybe nothing more than that. So in the interview, when they ask you, they will not even give you a chance to tell them about your CV. The only chance you may get is when they ask you, tell me about yourself. So you want to tell them about your CV at that time because that's your only chance. They will not review your CV even after that. They will just give you a mark communication 6, 7. At times you can even see what they are marking you, which is the weird part if it's not good. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what I learned, that when you go for an interview, you go with a typical agenda and perform accordingly. You may want to learn some lessons from Johnny Depp, who kind of comes up with different roles in every movie. So every interview is like a different movie that you're playing with actor.
So we are over time, but I want to quickly wrap up with your kind of both recommendations. I think the most important thing, how to keep up the motivation. So as someone who's gone through this, obviously both of you have dealt with a lot. So Mariam, what should students do who are repeat applicants? How do they keep up the motivation, not give up and, just be as fresh next year as they were previous years? What to do? Can something be done? Okay.
So I'm not going to lie, this was by far the worst year of my life, at least to date, at least as far as I can remember. But yeah, but the only thing that kept me going was the realization that
Right.
that I've worked for this for God knows how many years. I started preparing for my medical school when I was in grade 9. So I've technically been working for something like this ever since then. And then because of a few reasons that were either in my hands or not in my hands, I couldn't make it the first year. I think just knowing that this is what you want to do, this is what you truly want to do. There's nothing else that you can imagine doing.
Okay.
There's nothing else that you can do anyway. Really, and just keep reminding yourself that the main thing was that I had to remind myself that I'm not the only one in this. I actually realized it's very common to go unmatched. It's very common to go unmatched. It really helped me when I got in touch with other repeat applicants who had repeated in the past or were with me as repeat applicants. Getting together with them and not being afraid to share your failures and see what you can do to improve things in the next cycle. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough. It's financially draining, emotionally draining, physically draining. But I knew that I can't imagine myself doing anything else. So I'm going to give this one more shot. And yeah, I had a lot of family support. I had a lot of friends supporting me. So I think social support is very important, but
Mm-hmm.
you have to be very steadfast within as well. You're going to break down innumerable times, but that's what it's like. You fall down, then you pick yourself up and you continue the
Okay.
race. You
Got it.
continue the race and you give it one more shot because uh like I said, it was only after going unmarried that I realized that it's actually not so uncommon. Tons of people do this every year. So if I can afford to do it, I should. I should because I did not want to have this regret all my life. God forbid if I don't know what I'm going to do. If God forbid I go and match again this year. But
Very
at least I
inspiring. Yeah.
know that I put in my absolute best and did not lose
Okay.
my hope and showed utmost determination and tried to, reconcile everything and consolidate everything and improve myself in any way I could and give this shot, and hit it much harder. So, and
Yeah, you
and
know
if you
what they
do this,
say,
if you do this, you will be
if
very
something
proud of
doesn't kill
yourself.
you,
I was
yeah.
so
No,
proud
I
of
was just gonna
myself when
say,
I
you know what
finished
they
my
say,
interview
if
trail.
something doesn't
I
kill you,
couldn't
it makes
imagine
you a
any
better
Right.
person.
others,
Only makes you
and
stronger.
and and I
Yeah.
was you come out
Yeah.
alive, and I'm happy, I'm smiling, and let's see how it works. But I'm actually
Yes.
very proud of the strength that I demonstrated. So yeah, I mean, I think getting together with those who it just makes you stronger. It just makes you stronger.
Absolutely.
It just I have stopped fearing things because this was such a huge blow for me. I needed this so badly in so many different ways that
Good.
this whole year has actually made me much stronger than ever before. I have stopped fearing things because I know if I can handle this, I swear I can handle anything else in life.
Mm.
So yeah, it helps when you know that thousands of people do this every year. And people in your social circle who are not doctors will not understand how, because I got those scorns from a lot of people in my family, in my friend circles who were not doctors, because they just couldn't understand how does this work this way. You work so hard and it doesn't happen, and then you work even harder one whole year, and
Good.
and
Yes.
and I like people actually thought I
Thank
was
you.
crazy,
Very
I was
inspiring. Very
stupid, I don't
inspiring.
know that
Mohammed,
I don't know
last
how,
thoughts from you
is there
on
nothing
how
else
to
in life
keep
that
up
I
the
could do?
motivation as
I
we
like
wrap
so
this up.
people raised a lot of questions.
How do we
But if
keep
you're
up the
confident about
motivation?
this yourself,
Okay.
you can afford to
So,
just shun them off
well,
for a year and tell
the
them
words
I'll
of
talk to you after March.
he's
So yeah,
actor Joker kind of reminds me of this.
I
He was in this movie and he tells one of his guys that uh, tells this one of his guys that I know your friend better than you. He asks why, how is that possible? Then he says that I saw him dying. I saw him dying.
We cannot hear you, Mohammed. Be a bit louder.
I'm sorry. Okay. How is it still the same?
Yeah, now it's much
Hello?
better. Yeah, I think you can hold it like this. Yeah, as you
Okay.
give the
I
closing
don't know.
speech, hold it like this.
I'm traveling so much that all of my microphones, everything electronic is getting messy because we see the cables would give away after some time. Okay, so whatever. So I was saying that in that movie, Dark Knight, Joker says to one of these guys that I knew your friend better than you. And he asks,
Mm.
how is that possible? And he says that, oh, I saw him dying. So
Mm.
what happens is like when something happens to you, God forbid, it's the time to basically to show yourself, most importantly, that what you're made of. Okay, so if you were born a coward, or no one is born a coward, but if you are a coward, then that's the time you would actually say maybe you are a coward. But if you believe in yourself, okay, since ever, now it will not only help you to come up with the best out of yourself, but it most importantly, it also helps you to understand the world as well, I would say. Uh, with adversity, people tend to shy away. With prosperity, people tend to gather around you. So you kind of start to understand this bitter reality of life as well, which is an important lesson as well, because it kind of reminds you that once you become successful, you need to understand your humble starting where you started from. okay, and someone who hasn't even experienced it ever in their life, they probably do not have this kind of vision. So, okay, so what? You failed. Who's going to be affected? That's the first question that one should ask oneself. It's you, your family, and the people probably you want to intend to help in the future. So I kind of wrote it. What's going to happen if I stop here? It's only going to affect me, my good intentions that I may be able to help someone in the future, and my family. So I need to work for that part so I just continued with that and, lower down my ego. That's the most important thing I would say. Sometimes you just have to accept that failure is a part of life, and it's true that it only makes you stronger. So do not be afraid of accepting any downfalls. And then, after every downfall, there is a rise if you feel it's the right way. So there is a rise. It's just that it's kind of testing you in a manner. So that's what really, like Dr. Marine said as well, that you need to be obsessed about to the point of obsession that, okay, I've worked so much for so many years. Now is not the time that I'm stopping behind. And I have to
Very good.
strive and go ahead with it till I get what I rightfully deserve. Mr. Coelho said once that if you really want something and you really deserve it, then the whole universe will kind of gather around to help you to get to that spot. And I'm of this idea as well that that if you really want something, okay, even though times may be hard, but then, for some reason, if you do believe in this higher authority that is overseeing anything, so there will be some ways that he will help you figure out, and then you will get through it as long as you don't back away. And I think it's a good thing that happened to me, looking retrospectively, because I've started to see things which I couldn't probably in the past. I'm more, it has strengthened on my belief that, yes, I'm not like anyone else. I really want to help people, and I have to go through certain trials before I actually get to that spot. So these are the kind of values that you need to have. And then hopefully things will work out.
Oh, yeah. Very, very, very motivational, both of you. Thank you very much. Very inspirational. Cannot thank you enough. Great suggestions, great tips for students, and hopefully, some of them will find it useful. And of course, we'll be in touch. All the best. I wish you all the best. And thank you very much for your time.